And we're live. It looks like everything's coming through. We've got comms going through OBS. YouTube's connected. Twitch is connected. Okay, everything seems to be working. Welcome. Sorry for the lack of streams lately. There's been quite a bit going on in my life. It's been a little hard to deal with, and so my focus has been suffering pretty hard because of it. And therefore we haven't really made any progress on Psychocats outside of streams, even though I'd intended to work on it for at least 10 hours or so. But that didn't happen. I did get through a lot of other very important things to me over the course of this past 4 days. 4 days. We've also had the storms, which have kind of put a damper on things as well. But moving forward, I do intend to keep streaming. My goal is probably, at least for a while, I'm not sure how long we'll be doing this for, but at least for a little while, I'm going to start trying to stream a little bit less. Today's a bit of a slow start. I would like to get back to starting around 10 a.m. once again. But the goal here is 10 a.m. Central Time until probably 2 or 3 p.m. instead of trying to push it to 4 or 5 p.m. That means that instead of trying for 6 to 7 hour streams, I'm going to be trying to reduce that down to more like 4, sometimes 5 hour streams. And we will be continuing to stream on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Those seem to be our most active days on Twitch. So I would like to really be here when you guys are most looking for engagement. And those seem to be the days. So moving forward, expect roughly 10 a.m. Central Time, US, which would be 11 a.m. or sorry. Yeah, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time and noon. Those are backwards. 8 a.m. Pacific Time. Yeah, I'll post the exact times into our schedule on Twitch. I probably need to add a note to remind myself to do that after our stream. And I will, of course, update our Discord as well. Let me just make a quick note about that so I don't forget to add that, because I didn't remember to before. There we go. I did hear back from the group I was going to be working with. The capacity with which that we're going to be working on projects was reduced pretty significantly, which means I don't know how long we'll be working together. And the context changed a bit over the main things they wanted me to work on. But starting soon, we haven't set up an exact time yet. We're still in that like initial back and forth where we need to set up an exact time to work out the details. But starting soon, I'm going to be handling that as well. So the reduced stream time is going to help me to account for that, because I can't stream the work I'm doing with them, unfortunately. So what that means moving forward is I am still going to try to finish Psychocats for this game jam. The scope of the game needs to be reduced very drastically, because I effectively want to have it in my goal is to be effectively submitted by end of day tomorrow, and only use time on stream for coding, which means that we have something like 8 hours, maybe a little bit less. I can use a little bit of time outside of that, but I can't guarantee how much time I'm going to have. I need to figure out a few things. I know I will have some time Friday and Saturday morning, but if I remember correctly, let me just pull up itch and check the submission date deadline. But I believe, how's our bitrate looking? According to Twitch and YouTube, our connection is excellent, but itch isn't loading, which makes me wonder if something's wrong with itch right now. Yeah, oh, there it goes. Their homepage is having problems, but okay. Game Jam 18. Let's see if I can jump to that. I'm gonna go on a limb and say that Pirate Software has managed to piss someone off again, because it seems that that page in particular is being very, very slow. All right, so it needs to be submitted. I did finally get it up. It needs to be submitted on the 31st at 8 a.m., which means we don't have any time on Saturday. I will have time Friday. I don't know how much or how focused I'll be on Friday, but I can spend a few hours for sure focused on this project today and tomorrow, and I know for a fact I can manage that. So that's our goal. We're going to spend today ripping out or commenting out at least a bunch of things that we've been working on recently, because I am not going to have time with the other stuff that we need to get done polish wise. We're not going to have time to do procedural generation. So I'm going to be start the day off removing those tasks, which means that we need to generate some levels. I am not a level designer, so we're going to struggle with that one a little bit, but it will still be much faster for us to knock out some okay, levels than it will be for us to go through and finish the procedural generation and then do all the refinement and tweaking and everything. If we'd had the entirety of last week and this weekend, we could have done it, but life happens sometimes. So we are making do with what we can. What that means today is we're going to start creating a rapid fire task list. Do you want updating? The cat just dove into my arm and knocked my mouse out of the way because she wanted up and then changed her mind, I guess. All right. So we need to switch our scenes. This is stuff we've been working on for the procedural generation that's not particularly of interest to us. Let me see if I can. How do we want to handle this? I think I need to change this to the full. There we go. So, hey, Nene. We have player character. Who is this one of them? Like, here's some polished things. I still want to do these because I think that's going to be huge for us. I think we're mostly done. I wanted to polish the main menu and then add settings menus, but we can skip essentially all of the settings menu stuff. No, we can't, because I want to introduce sound effects. And at least some music. So we are going to have to put in some time on the settings menu. So maybe we start with that. Finish off our menus, even if they're not wired up to anything. That way we can close out the task. An intro scene, just so we can showcase, this is what you're trying to do kind of thing. I think this is all procedural generation. No, this was an initial outline on how I wanted to set up our levels. The selection scene is done. We do still need to add keyboard support, though. That might be a polish thing that goes to the wayside. All right. Well, that's what we're going to be working on today. I'm going to start, while this ad runs here in 20 seconds, I'm going to start ripping out some of the, or commenting out some of the old stuff that we don't need and getting us ready to go on where we want to move forward with the new stuff today. So I will see you guys back here in about 2 minutes. All right. For those on YouTube that are hanging out, you get to watch me cull this stuff if a YouTube ad's not running. I don't have any visibility into when ads run on YouTube, and they're different for every user, so who knows? Our level structure isn't necessarily having any issues. We just need to comment out this line and these lines. Actually, let's just do it this way. I'm just gonna... Ooh. Also, let me make sure I did not switch back to coding. There we go. This should get our levels working correctly again. I believe we have the scene fully wired still. Nope, we don't. That's the most important thing for us, is getting that back into the functional state that we want. We can do all the things. Select the cat. We can control the cat. Camera is bound correctly. Everything looks right. We need to do some fixes to our shadow boxing because I want them to be able to see that there are walls there. I just don't want them to be able to see through the walls. So that one's going to take a little bit of tweaking. I know how to do it with the obstacle stuff because you can do one-way shadow borders on these things. We still need to do the Y sorting as well. All right. Where do we dive into? I think, because our character selection is looking pretty good, it just needs player controller stuff, or keyboard support stuff. Let's start with particles. I've never done particles before. It's something I really wanted to do as part of this. So we'll do that. I should be able to do it through the animation tree. If I'm not mistaken, that's one of the big arguments for doing the animation tree stuff. So this animation tree looks a little weird. I've been tweaking and working with this over time. Some of this on stream, some of this off stream. I figured out that most of these arrows don't matter. When you call it in code, it will transition for you, even if it doesn't have a line. So you can jump straight from start to capture if you wanted, or it could be in hide and jump straight to capture. All you need to do is tell it to travel to that node, and it will, even if there's no way to travel to it. However, you can force transition travels to follow a set pattern. Like here, you see how we have a transition that runs with specific, fade times. Actually, you guys can't see the right. Well, this transition is set up to have an at end. That's what the arrow with the line at the far side of it is. There's an at beginning, which is an arrow on the other side. Or sorry, a line on the other side of the play button style thing. And then there's no line, which are these, which is instant or immediate is what they call it. If you have an enabled at end, and you are at hover and you tell it to go to blur, it will wait until the end of the current animation, then go to show, and then immediately transition to blur, at the end of which it will go to hide. Even if I start hover and I'm a fraction of a second into that, and then I tell it to transition to blur, because this is disabled. So if I hover over it and keep hovering, it'll just end up on show. And then whenever I call transition or travel, it'll go to blur immediately. If I trigger this and then call it to go to blur, it will follow this path, the travel path. If there's no line here, so there's no path to it, it will short circuit everything and go straight to it. So that's why we have some paths. But then we have things like this, where these two paths, idle here and the hide segmentation over here, never intersect because you cannot transition between those, aside from when you select your character, which means we want it to be instant no matter where you are, with no wait times at all. These, on how they're wired, honestly don't matter. All of them are immediate disabled, which means that it's the exact same as if there was no line here. As soon as I call capture, it's going to travel to capture instantly, no matter where you are. So we don't need them, but I figured I'd go ahead and finish it off. So we have a run in here. We should be able to, as part of this, add in additional like animation details. So we can go to this. There's another one. I mirrored. So we've got run left. Let me zoom in a little bit on this. We've got run left, which is the run right animation. Because again, they're running to the right in this animation if you were to flip through that, with a horizontal flip enabled. And then we've got run, which doesn't have horizontal flip enabled. So we select this, value on, select this. Oh, value on. Idle left. Why does it say on for all of these? Regardless, it's supposed to say off. When you do a thing and you're angled like this, this is all controlled through that. And so all I needed to do in our code for the animation tree was to add blends on them. And that's why we have a single blend in a 2D space with just the two nodes. And if you were to pop open one of these, this is a leftover. I don't have to do this anymore. I found out if I just set them to continuous, this problem gets solved. But this just keeps, this is the exact same as a continuous. At the end of run, it goes to run and then back and forth, and it will just stay between these until it's told to exit. So this was a way for me to get around, because at one point in time I was trying to use the animation tree's state machine as the entire state machine, which means I need to have events being thrown when the animation ended. The problem I came into is this would call animation ending constantly. So I had a bunch of filters and other things to do that, and it just wasn't working the way I wanted it to. So I gave up on that, but I never undid this. So it functions the same way. It's just, you know, a little different. We might need to clean that up today, which means we're going to have to go through here and figure out which of these hide box, this loops, this loops. I think this one also loops. Yes. We got jump, which is not loop. Run, which should loop. Run left, which should loop. Taunt, which I feel like should. Let's see animation for this. How long does it go? We're not using it right now, so let's leave it off. This one's run left. Boom. Run should be in the other direction. Boom. Jump. Just making sure all of these are working as expected. This one we don't have on loop, even though it is one that probably should be looping. Animation-wise, it's fine to loop. The reason it's not on loop is that this is one that we use a end of animation transition on to tell when we should close out the game. So this one we don't want on loop for that reason. But that fixes all of our animations so that we can, as we go through and add our particles to these, we should be able to swap off of these blend. Sorry, we'll still need the blend spaces. We can swap off of these state machines, so we're not having to do the loop through the state machine. And instead, we can do the loop as part of the animation itself. That being said, it shouldn't impact the actual game. Yeah. It's just not transitioning between, you know, run one, run two, run one, run two, and so on and so forth, back and forth internally in the state machine. It's hitting run one and then just looping forever because it doesn't have an end anymore. But everything else works the same. So the state machine's being short-circuited, but still exists. I can, I'm probably actually going to use those state machines. And the reason for it being is the state machine objects contain nodes that we can add to them. And so if we go to our run and we pop this open, we can either do it here or we could wrap this in a state machine. But if we do it in a state machine, we can go in here and we can add open editor. We can add a node that triggers its own state machine, a blend tree, blend spaces, animations, all these things. I don't know if we can trigger a particle through this, but we should be able to. The other option I was looking at, which is probably what I'm going to end up doing, is similar to how we were doing all of these, which means that I'm probably just going to add the particle as a node that is disabled by default. And then when the animation triggers, it will enable it and play it and position it as needed, I think is what we'll end up doing. So if we switch to run this animation, I don't know if we can do it as part of this because that means it would play every single time and we only want it to play once. So I guess we do need it to be its own. Or do we? Every time the cat kicks up, we could have the particle effects go out. All right, let's look into particles in Godot. Well, I know for a fact what we're going to need to start with is a material process. Material to process. Okay, so I need a material. Let's add a new folder real quick. All right, of course not. Shaders, And we are going to call this run particle shader. Okay, let's try this again with creating the folder first. New shader. Run particles. Material to process the particle is not. Is that not a material? Maybe if I save it. No? Material to process the particle is not assigned, so no behavior is imprinted. Does this need to go under something with a material? Well, this looks like a perfect time to pull up some sort of guide or write-up or something. So let's do that. Good dough. Adding run particles. Let's find a quick little tutorial. Assign a particle process material to define behavior. Process material. Oh, so let's remove that. Shader material. Load. Let's do quick load. There we go. There's 2 material sections, it turns out, and only one of them is relevant for us, but we found it. All right, so that's the first step. We need to write that shader still, but that's the first step. All right, just find that. All right, there we go. Assign a particle to define behavior and set a texture / mesh for appearance. Okay. So let's set there. No, I remember how I'm supposed to do this. Not that. Undo. There we go. We want this to be a where's the, here we go, fill radio, and then we want to swap these two. In order to do that, we need to swap them in the literal sense, if I remember correctly. Yeah. And we want this one to be 0.5 lock, 0.5, 0.5, and then we use this one to adjust the particle size. Something like that. Maybe we go a little bit smaller. Okay, that's not repeat. No repeat. I always wondered what repeat did. Interesting. I don't know where we're gonna use that, but interesting. I think we're actually good here on our little particle. I think we might need to change what this is. So can we do something like that? And then if we change this color to also be white, that gets rid of the black around it. And then if we bring this in a little bit more, it shrinks the particle further. Yeah. So now if we zoom in, we got this. It's a little, if it gets too small, it gets square on us. All right. And then if I, oh, right, I should probably grab the 143 across the board. So if we do this one in 143, not 443, 143. There, that gets rid of the weird transition border. So now we have a little gray particle. I might need to tweak those colors still. That's fine. That's easy enough for us. So if we one shot with a 1 second lifetime, is it when we toggle this that, no, I'm not sure how we trigger the one shot. Particle trails using a mesh skinning system. Particle trails for, okay, so we can't do particle trails. I still want this moved to a better spot. So if we, this is the frame step button, right? No, let's play from start. We'll do it this way. I think what we need to do is take our particles and set them up something like this. Let's create a container for them. We can just do node 2D, and then we can add rename particles, and then we can duplicate. Something like that. Interesting. Ah, there we go. Also, I noticed some other things with this that make me think we don't need all these extras. Hmm. So is this like spawning particles? Hmm. It's a sub-emitter. Used as a sub-emitter. Sub-emitters can be used to achieve effects such as fireworks, sparks on collisions, bubbles popping into water drops, and more. Okay. Link emission to player movement in a script, triggering the emitting equals true when running and false otherwise, typically spawning dust at the feet. Let's do something like feet. And then when we transition into running, we want to set emitting equal to true. And so that's something we can, in fact, do as part of run. So if we set emitting as a key to on, it's part of run. Oh, and then we want to turn it off by default. This should be off because we're not running. Animation player, run, emitting, true. Maybe we've got to do an idle. Boom. That. Create. Let me set it to false. Also, let's move this up because I don't think we need it to be wrapped anymore, but I want to make sure it's using the thing correctly. All right, and again, emitting is false. When we run idle, emitting is false on discrete, so okay. But then if we go to run, transitions to true. And if we go to run left, then it would transition to true. Idle is false. Okay, and then idle left. Particles. Create. False. It should be transitioning correctly. I don't see particles coming out of my feet, though. Steps to add running particles. Set up particle node. So we got that. Define a material and expect to create a new particle process material. Amount. Set a low number, 8 to 16 for a simple trail. We've got 16. We'll just use the default of 8. Set a short duration. Time duration. We got 1 second, so this is recommending something like 0.3. We'll do it in low end. One shot. Keep this disabled to make it a continuous effect while running. Disabled. Initial velocity, set it to a low value, perhaps slightly upward or backward to simulate foot kicking dust. Velocity. They don't have anything associated with velocity in here. Lifetime randomness ratio. How rapidly particles in an emission cycle are emitted. If greater than 0, there will be a gap in emissions before the next cycle begins. Set it low. Particle system run speed scaling ratio values 0 can be used to pause the particles. Sure, we'll leave that as is. Preprocess. Starts if it had already run this many seconds. In extreme cases, can include GPU crash. Wow. In theory, I should be able to leave this as 0. Set a low value for velocity, add just gravity, appearance. Again, there's no velocity or gravity on this. I'm not seeing anything on here associated with either of those. If you in your player script, toggle the emitting property based on movement. It's literally dot emitting equals true, dot emitting equals false. It's literally toggling emitting on and off. And they even recommend doing it inside of a animation player. So in theory, I should be able to run. Is this because we have no velocity associated with it, even though there's nothing in here telling us about velocity? Set to a value lower than 1. This will set the amount of emitted particles throughout the lifetime to amount times amount ratio. Unlike the changing amount, changing the amount ratio while emitting does not affect already emitted particles. Interesting. I think I need a velocity associated with this to get this to do what I want. But in order to add a velocity, I think I have to add it through code. Because I'm not seeing anything in here for velocity. So let's look at the entities, the player script. If we go in here and then we update our velocity equals everywhere where we set velocity to a non-zero value, this is moving towards 0. This is moving. So if we set this equal to -1.0 times velocity, right, dot velocity. Emit flag velocity. This is just saying I simply need to add velocity, but velocity doesn't exist. Is one-shot property. Will be continuously updated. Consider setting a value other than animation callback mode, discrete, force, continuous to. Alright, so GPU particles emitting is one-shot property, but will be continuously updated. Consider setting a value other than animation callback mode, discrete, force, continuous to the animation mixer.callback mode dominant. Specifically, it's calling it on reset. First off, it should be false. Oh, this also needs to be discrete. That didn't fix our problem. Also, it's just not spawning at all. Our problem should look something like this, to where it's just there. Shouldn't be there, but it is there. Again, reset, value track, emitting, one-shot property, but will be continuously updated. Consider setting a value other than discrete, force, continuous. Discrete. Continuous. Let's run it and let's try and see what happens. And they're back. I don't know what it's wanting me to do. I guess I can toggle it off here. We don't really need it to be updating in the reset. We can fix that first one really easy. We just need to go to the how to get the side menu up. Right, I need to be looking at scripts. It was under map. It's an easy fix. What about the same? Even though we have it explicitly disabled, reset. In reset, if we go to animation player, reset, disabled completely. I don't know what to set this to make it happy. Okay. Let me So in particles 2D. Let's try again. To do. Wait, we no longer need this. GPU particles 2D. GPU particles 2D. Is there a new, did they change this? And I'm just looking at old particle. No. Is there now an emitter or something? No. Because this menu is completely different. Like it starts off the same, emitting, amount ratio, sub-emitter, and then it goes to the process material, which for us is here. And then under process material, they use particle process material. So maybe that's our problem. So instead of shader, let's do particle process material. Particle flags. Oh. Spawn position. So if we go back to here, let me change. Damn, where'd I put it? There it is. Let me change this as well. So if we go to run. There we go. So let's put it like here. And then we want this to go down to like, let's say 3. And then we want to change our time to 0.6. Might even want to go up to 0.8. Go down. It spawns them real fast, but they don't last very long. 0.4. Zero 0.1. Zero 0.5. 'Velocity. Percentage of the velocity of the respective inherited by each particle when spawning. And let's do a little bit of spread, initial velocity. Can be a range between, let's say, 5 and 15. Maybe if I change the spread down to 0, I can get an idea of the direction it's coming off. All right, that's a little bit better. Accelerations, gravity, 0. We're gonna undo that one. Alright, well, this is tied, I'm pretty sure, to a flag I set up here. That. Let's try it like so. I definitely want to reduce the lifetime to 0.2 and then reset that, and we will up the amount back to 8 and give that a try. And remember, that's on the left side, so when we're running to the right. Let's add the remainder of our interpretation so we can get it in step properly. Again, this is the forward motion. So they're out, come in, down, boom, and they're landed. I think we should copy this frame. Let's copy paste that frame, and then we will shift it down here. And then let's add 0.7. So if we play that now, it's a little bit smoother on the animation. That also gives us this frame as a point where we can do, again, it's, oh, sorry, down, up, and then it would loop back to that. So we can kick dust off on this frame. So we want our start point to be there. And then we want it to turn off again here. So emitting would transition to false, and then we will copy paste that, drag, paste, paste, undo, copy, paste. There we go. That looks a lot better. We need to fiddle with the numbers again. But if you watch, kick, 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 kick. The initial kick doesn't do it. So we need to fiddle with our animation a little bit to get that working. But kick, 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 kick. So I think we need to decrease our particle size. I think we need to increase the darkness of our particles towards the center. That should be good. That gives a nice spot for it. Then we need to, I think, increase this to something like 16. And then we can lifetime them down to 0.1. And then let's reset our speed scale. What was explosiveness again? How rapidly particles in emission cycle are emitted. If greater than 0, there will be a gap. Randomness, let's increase this all the way up. $16 might be extreme. Let's down that to 12, and then we'll change the lifetime back up to 0.2. Nope, not 2. 0.2. I want more. Let's go back to 16, but this time let's leave it at 0.2. I might even actually increase this from 0.2 to 0.25. But this time let's also modify our velocity a little bit. Let's do 7 to, actually let's up it a little bit more. Let's do 8 on the lower end. Nope, 8. And then we will leave it at 15 on the high end. We're going to increase the spread to 90. Let's see what that looks like. I think our particle size might be a little too small. It's kind of hard to see even for me. So I imagine you guys probably can't see it at all. So let's drag this out ever so slightly. That might be too big. That looks good. I like that. All right. Let's fix our animation player now. So we have a proper kickoff animation that we start this with. So let's shuffle these frames around so that our kickoff animation is actually at the beginning. So we want it to play something like this. We want to idle can transition into this, I think, and then this. So this should be the very beginning. And then after that, we would go to this frame. So now we have kick, jump. And then we can drag everything there, and we'll grab this frame, move it to the end. Drag everything down. This frame, move it to the end. Just repeat this process for a little bit. This just needs to be deleted. This frame, move it to the end. That one to the end, and then this should be the last time. So now we start here. transition up. All right, and so now we should have a more fluid motion coming into our run. Again, we need to do the inverse of this in the other direction. As soon as we start, kick, kick, kick. Kick, kick, kick. Stop. Kick, kick, kick. There we go. All right, that looks a lot better now. So if we then go back to our animation player, and we take these, and we copy them all, and then we go to run left. Nope, that's idle left. Run left. And we want to grab all these. We just want to delete them. And then we can go here and we can paste. And that should be all we need to do to get run working in the other direction. Kick, 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 kick. We do need to get our pivot working correctly. So in order to do that, I believe I saw the thing we need down here for that. Emission shape offset. We might need to change velocity as well. What is this turbulence? If true, enables turbulence for the particle system. Turbulence can be used to vary particle movement according to its position in 3D. Nope, we don't need any of that. We just need to find our emission offset. So if we set our particle system to here, and then we do emission shape offset, and we do X minus 10 minus, here, let me layer, change it to run particle, minus 20, there. And then we'll raise it 3. We'll raise it 3. So that should get our animation looking right again when we're going to the right. So we'll test that. Yep. All right. So now all we need to do is change this key. So if we go to the animation player, we have run, and we have this key. We'll go back to GP particle, grab the key for emission shape, create, set to discrete. That should be locked in. And then when we run left, we need to change this from -20 to a +20. And then we can lock this key in. Outside of these two, we don't care because we're not using this particle anywhere else. We're going to rename this to run particles. We don't need to reset it. Technically, we do need to reset this to false. All right, and then everything else, we need to make sure our particles get disabled. Hold shift when clicking the key icon to skip this dialog. Create reset tracks. All right. Hide box. Idle. Idle left. Inbox. Jump. We're gonna come back to that one. Run. Oh, let's go back to idle left. And then taunt. We'll disable them. And then run has them. Jump should have them as well. We're gonna do boom. That's the frame. So we are going to articles, emitting keyframe, cancel, emitting keyframe, boom. And it needs to, do we have jump left, jump right? No, we have a single jump. But we do need to go ahead and set the keyframe for position shape. Why don't you have a key icon? Process material. Why can I not add this as a keyframe? There it goes. Weird. Boom. Other than that, we want to, right, we hit here, it's disabled. When we're here, we want it to be disabled. So we go to that, and we go to emitting, and we go to, again, this needs to be discrete. I need to double check all that. Discrete, emitting, false. And then we go to here. Then we would have the particle emitting key false. Correct our time to exactly 0.4. Discrete, discrete. All these need to be discrete. And discrete. Discrete. All right. That should get our animation looking good. You got the little puffs coming out. I know gray on gray is hard to see. Little puffs coming out. I'd like to have an initial particle pop when we transition into idle initially. I wonder if there's a way we can do that. I'm going to open our ticket. Yep, we got a slide to stop animation improvement we want to do. So if we go to our animation tree, let's try again, select. When we first transition into idle, specifically when we transition from run into idle, we should add a I guess what we could do is we could introduce a stop animation. Let's do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new animation here. We're going to call the, first off, we're going to take the run animation and we are going to duplicate it into a stop animation. Let's find, it doesn't matter which of these we're in, we're going to snap to the next one is the problem. So let's find a smooth one we can snap to. Maybe something like this is a fairly neutral one. So let's do this as our first animation, which means we need to delete everything else. That's our first animation. Next up, we need to add need to add new frames. Which means technically we're changing frame coordinates on the sprite is what we're doing. The easiest way to do that would be to go to the one we want. So I'm thinking we use some of the taunt animations because it's got a nice, maybe not. The tail being up kind of ruins that one. I guess the tail is up in this one. The sizing's off though, I've noticed. So taunt. We have to, oh, we don't have to alter the scale on this one. So maybe we can. Did we? We do have to slightly change the offset. But we could grab like one of these frames for the end. Like this guy. We grab that guy and we go to our stop animation and we drop him in. Like there. Snap him in like here. Or essentially doing is transitioning from that into that. He flips the opposite direction though, I've noticed. And the body size being so drastically different is what throws me off. Do we have idle? This is purely idling. Are any of these something that would work well for? No. This is why we don't have a stop animation right now. If we go to the sprite and we pull up the full sprite sheet, assets, layer, like to open. Tempted to change our capture animation to this one. Also, I think this is our jump animation that's longer like this. Let me zoom out a little bit and position that just right so I can see everything on the side monitor. Also, seems our music stopped. Oh, no, it did stop. There it goes. So let's check out run animation. This is far shorter than it should be. Jump animation. I'm pretty sure our run animation is this one here, which would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Which means 6. Okay, so if I go to the frame chords on this, horizontal 12. Change it back to this. Horizontal frames, vertical frames, frame chords. Here we go. I mean, if I set this to 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if I change this to 6, and I delete these, delete those. Okay, and then let's go to the sprite, and we're gonna change the frame chords to 0, 6. Add. This animation doesn't look right. So what if I change this to That's right. So if I set this as our frame, and then go to 6 and lock in all the remaining frames. 1.5, sure. Okay, so this last one needs to be deleted, which means we can reduce this down to 1.3. This solves all of those problems. That really looks like a jump to me. I'm not gonna lie. I guess what I could do for our animation here is we could take the animation for our stop animation, because that's what we're here for. I could take this animation and then I could take what was our idle? So if we change sprite to be our idle frame, again, idle is flipped from all the running stuff, which makes it a little bit harder, and offset. So I need to go to idle, grab this frame. and then go to 0.1. Idle, frame, copy. Stop. 0.1. Boom, paste. I don't know why it's not letting me do that. Did our music stop again? It did. What the hell's going on here? Oh. Apparently, a very large number of the songs that we normally listen to are no longer available. Interesting. Well, let me go directly to the group I pulled these from. We're just gonna grab their top 100 playlist. Oh, it's gone there too. That's not a good sign. Won't give me any information about it either. Just has an exclamation point. Okay. NC cs.io. Yeah, that's the one. I mean, their website's still up and running. Looks like they have playlists on YouTube. Let's see if it's linked to the same one I'm using on YouTube Music. View full playlist. They don't appear to be removed. Okay, so we are going to just play through this for today. Shuffle. Sorry for the very loud music. I normally keep it very low. Alright, I don't know if I can get this to the same... I don't know if I'm going to be able to show the artist for this. Where does it even say the artist? Alright, we should be able to make that work. Let me just tweak this selector. Window. No, it's... Yeah. That's not what I want. I do need a selector window. That is the right one. I need to change the properties though. Filters maybe? Yeah, filters. Alright, that is what I'm looking at. 420. Oops, I forgot I can't hit enter. Filters. Damn it. Again. Filters. Alright, so it's starting correct. We need to change this height ever so slightly, maybe 70 will work. And then the width for 60. 500 maybe. 600. 650. That seems to work. Let's do this to 75 maybe. And then I just should need to unlock this position ever so slightly. Every time the song changes, it's going to do that. I didn't think about that. Let me find the sweet spot. Filters. All right. We want our vertical. Can I do like, I don't know, minus 75? No, of course it's not going to work. 800? 600? 10? All right, that looks good. It is a little wonky on my side on how this is set up. Well, we got music again. Sorry about that. I don't know why like 80 or 90% of their YouTube music stuff is unavailable, but it's available on YouTube. So hang on, I just noticed I have a missed text message. Just want to double check and see if it's... Looks like there's no school for the kids tomorrow. All right. Where were we? We were doing animation stuff. I think we're good with the run animation in both directions. We were trying to get a stop animation going so that we could transition between running and to a skid is what I want to do. And then poof of particles. So maybe what we do, because we don't have the animations I really want, let's just grab 2 frames. Stop animation. We'll just transition to this, and then we'll transition to that idle frame. We'll set the duration to 0.3. We'll grab a idle. So it's 0, right, sprite. This needs to be 0.1. We'll grab a frame chords of 0 and 1. No, 0, 0. Boom. I really don't like that one, so let's do 1. Nope. This one's 0, the other one's 1. 1. Let's grab that frame. We'll lock this keyframe. We will... Wow, these The sprite sheet's all over the place. We need to handle our offset. This is the sprite offset. Let's grab the actual numbers from idle for this. We got set offset to this. Can I copy and paste this time? Please let me copy and paste. Okay. -8, 10. And then scale is 0.85. -8, 10. With a scale of 0.85. So we want to add scale. We want to add offset. Like that song. And then we need to flip horizontally. Lock. Stop emitting. And then in our animation tree, instead of run transitioning back to idle, we can have run transition to a stop with an immediate non-auto, and then an auto at end to idle. Well, that didn't quite work as expected. Animation tree. At end auto. Should travel to idle. Oh, I know. Looping false. All right. We run. It looks a little bit smoother. I did get one hiccup frame in there from there's a specific like animation frame in your run that if you hit it just at the perfect timing, looks a little glitchy. Okay. Let's duplicate and flip all of this. So we go to the we go to our player animation, we go to our stop animation, we then duplicate to a stop left. We just flip everything. So we look at our offset. It's got a no X. This one has a -8, so we've changed this to a +8 on X. We toggle this and then untoggle this. Our scale shouldn't have to change. Emitting stays the same, but our process animation needs to go from -20 to +20. Okay. And now in our, let's save that. And then our animation tree, instead of using stop. 1 second. Sorry about that. I had to sneeze. All right. Instead of just using stop as is, we want to delete this node. We want to create a new node that is going to be a blend space. Nope, not 2D. We want a 1D. 1D. Let's remove this. We are going to call this stop. We're going to link it up like we did before. Add end auto into idle. Immediate non-auto from run into stop. And then we are going to edit this, and we are going to set a discrete with a point on the right that is a stop, and a point on the left that is a stop left. And then in our player script, we update here. Everywhere we do this, just the one spot. That's what I was hoping for. We want to duplicate this line, and now we have a stop blend position. I want to screw up on our stop. (2D). That's not what I meant. Animation player. We got stop. If we set this on loop and we hit play. If I undo loop and then I switch from stop to stop left and I set it on loop and I play. Okay. Undo loop. Animation tree. Stop. Edit. We've got a discrete blend space. The only thing I can think is I'm not passing the correct variable to it. So if we pop open stop, what was the... It's animation tree, stop blend position. So we can go to the script, parameters. We got idle and run here, idle and run. So we also have stop. And we've got our blend position. Applying blend. Did I not set these correctly to run? Animation, stop. Play mode forward, advance on start, no. Use custom timeline, no. And then over here, we've got stop left. We've got blend set to discrete. We'll go back to the root and look at idle. It's a discrete blend. It's using a state machine, but all of this should be right. All of this should be left. Up and down are flipped in these blend modes. So if you do the blend space with the vertical axis on it, the 2D, then you need to worry about that. The only thing I'm seeing in here is I click sync. So maybe we need to do that on this one. Sync. Boom. Okay. And then see it. It's still flipped. It flips back and then rotates into the position, which tells me it's activating the right facing one and not transitioning to the left facing one. Animation. It's got to be our tree here, right? There's definitely something wrong with our blend space. But I'm passing all of the correct values. Because it's mirroring everywhere else we do this. And this is just the third instance, so it's not even like the first time we're duplicating it or anything. Animation tree, stop. It's getting all the parameters it needs. It's a discrete sync. Forward advancement, stop, which should be our right-facing stop. And we can test that by going to stop in our 2D and clicking play. And it is right-facing. The other one is our stop left, play. Just to be safe, we're going to go into here and we're going to click on this one and we're going to make sure stop left. I'm not assigning flipping in here anywhere. So it's not overriding anything. When I had this problem before and I was fighting with it, it came down to the settings in our blend space. But I've made them identical. Continuous sync. I'm using discrete. Let's set this to continuous in sync. 0.1. Everything else in here is the same. This one uses discrete instead of continuous, so in theory both of them should work. State machine type root, allow, I don't need any of that. And then when we edit this, edit for it, I should be able to just delete all of this and use that. But let's see if that toggle. Oh. Interesting. What if I, based on what I just saw, what if I just stop? -1 times. This needs to be a float or it's gonna warn me. See, that's what's throwing me off is run left, flips to the right. Run right, flips to the left. It makes me feel like I've somehow inverted these two, which is why I had it on discrete. I think it's trying to transition from one to the other and it's causing problems. If I go here and I change this from continuous to discrete, it flips right and then moves back. But then I go this way, it does the thing correctly. It really makes me think I'm not getting blend sent in. And so it's defaulting. I can test that by changing the animation trees blend point here. So I can actually set a default blend value. Let's set it to -1.0. Whoops. Let's try again. Negative 1.0. Works right now. Flips. What this is telling me is that our blend position isn't getting updated. Print, update, blend, blend. Parameters. Is it because this is a lowercase s? Stop. Blend. I mean, it should be converted to from proper case to this case. None of these are spelled wrong because these two are there. It's highlighting all three when I select them, and these two are spelled right, and they are functioning. These two are in fact working as we would expect. Idle is just the lowercase version of idle. Run is the lowercase version of run. Is it because we're not in that parameter state, maybe? No, that would make sense. What happens if I toggle this to be deterministic? Because it can cause weird... I mean, it's very obviously not updating our blend position for stop. Even though we're clearly setting it here. And nowhere else. We don't ever set it to 0. We set it to all three during the run state, which is the only time you can change your direction. Like, we literally don't call this anywhere else. It's just these. Why is this doing that? It's things like this. I've gone through this before. I've done all of this to get this up and running because we did it for these. It's times like this that we lose days of time, and it's something stupid we did somewhere to get this to work the first time that like doesn't logically make sense, but it's just part of the how you handle it, you know what I mean? And I'm just missing it. It's because we don't ever explicitly transition to that, maybe? I don't see in here anywhere where we're setting anything even remotely relevant to it. We know it's not disabled or it wouldn't run at all. I mean, it has to be some combination of these settings. Maybe it's not doing it now because I expressly set the value so it can't update. I mean, it has a default value. It's not like I can set it to nothing. Best I can do is set it to 0. Which just means to test I need to run left instead of right. These points are at exactly -1.0 and exactly 1.0 with a blend position at exactly 0 and steps of 0.1 on a grid snap. We know it's assigning because we know this is being called because we tested it. And we know it's being assigned because this is how we use it here. The only difference between this and these two is that when you enter them into the blend space, it uses what are they called? State machines. But in theory, I should be able to delete, animation, idle, animation, idle left. Oh, it's not playing an animation now. Animation player, idle, loops, autoplay on load. I wonder why it's not playing. The blend shouldn't prevent it from playing. Forward, advanced start, use custom timeline. Is it have something in the animation tree reference that's saying it needs to always restart and it's just spam and restarting itself or something like that? I've never encountered this problem before. Because this is how I always did it. You set up your blend space. Normally I'd use a blend space 2D instead of a 1D, but whatever. You set up your blend space and just put your 4 animations in. I'm putting 2 animations in, obviously. And that's it. Maybe if I set this to continuous. Animation tree and continuous sync. capture. If I literally just change this, cancel. Delete that. Delete that. Add a node here that is a state machine, and add a node here that is a state machine. Select this one, and then open editor, and all I have to do is immediate auto into idle, and then turn off auto into end, and then do this into idle left, end. That's it. The exact same thing is just wrapped in a state machine. Now it doesn't work though. I do have idle set to loop. Idle left is set to loop. Why are you suddenly not working? What did I change on? What changed on this? It's still called idle. It still has the blend position. We're back to having a playback for that state machine. If we go to run, you can see this is exactly what we're doing. Wait, what? Continuous blend instead. So let's try that. Continuous sync. It goes to the first animation, but then just stops. But if we go to run, literally the difference here is that it just loops back and forth between these two. The only thing that would make sense is if I accidentally left open editor like this enabled. Or sorry, with auto, but it's not. This transition is what you would expect here. This should just hit idle and stay. But our idle isn't doing anything, even though idle works. It should just be doing this. I don't have anything set to autoplay on load, do I? Because autoplay on load is when animation player loads, not when you load the individual animation. And it's shown to break things. No? Well, let's transition this to exactly what it was before. Again, shouldn't make a difference, but add a node. Nope, let's do this transition. It is a at end auto transition from idle to idle to and back, and then immediate. That's it. A right side idling. Broken. This is exactly, I literally re-implemented what we had before. Nothing has changed. The left side blend will be broken, but right side shouldn't be. I don't know what's going on here. Activate to enable. All right, so if I go to our animation tree and activate this so that we can see what it's supposed to look like. It's one-shot property. Okay, we know that. Why won't you activate? If I just drag animation idle in here and click idle, is not found current state. Wait, what? What if we go to the animation player for reset and we just delete? Delete, delete. Animation tree. This is currently idling for us. Stop transitions correctly. Idle does nothing here. Doesn't even show an indicator. Idle here does nothing, but shows the indicator. The only thing I can think of is I changed this. Ah, there we go. Okay. So now if I were to change this to be a animation, nope, blend space 1D, which we can then edit to have animation idle and animation idle left, which will sync on a discrete. Boom. Okay, we get idling. Let's... No, we are just going to delete this node. Let's edit this. Hi, welcome. Let's go ahead and delete that. And then we're going to delete that. And we're going to add directly into here our idle and our idle left. Okay, our idling is fixed. We just need to figure out why it's flipping like that in our stop transition. Let me remove this again. So idle is fixed. Let's update run to get rid of these inline state machines, because we're not doing that anymore. We're working on a stealth-based roguelike called Psychocats. So this is gonna be run, and this is gonna be run left. And right now we're trying to fix some of our animations. In particular, we're trying to introduce particles to our animation. So we just added, you can see the little puffs as they're running. That's what we just added. Right now, what we're trying to add is a little puff and skid at the end. Oh, it's just me from a development standpoint. We being the stream collective. We. I need to fix this idle animation. But we've got this little stop animation in now. It's flipping backwards from the way it should be. Yes, it is just me, myself, and I from all those standpoints. So the only thing I can think of, so if we go to the animation tree and we look at our stop animation, do I have these backwards? Stop. What if I change this one to stop left and I change this one from stop left to stop? Thanks. No, it is literally, I just swap the animation backwards, and no matter what I do, it's the inverse of what it should be doing, even if you... So if I... Stop. Okay. Thanks for the follow. We stream Tuesdays and Wednesdays. I was just talking earlier that we're going to downstep our streaming frequency a bit because I've got some life issues going on right now. But thanks for following. But we're going to be on Tuesdays and Wednesdays from 10 a.m. Central to anywhere between 2 and 4 p.m. Central. So come join us tomorrow, next week, whenever. Am I setting my horizontal flips incorrectly? Well, let's start with this. Okay, so we go here. We transition to the idle. We are using this transition as a sync continuous. Right, we wanted this to be a sync discrete. And we go to run, which should be a sync discrete. And then we go to a stop, which should be a sync discrete. And then the animation tree itself is not deterministic. Okay. It's not doing the inverse flipping anymore. On the right. Now it's just not supplying the update to the left like animation. Let's animation tree dot get. Can I just do get this property? I can. Okay. So let's print stop. Let's do that. All right. So hopefully, as we're running, null. That's why we're having issues. Thank you for the follow. Welcome. What is this? Explain that one to me. I do the exact same thing with the exact same setup for these. Well, when I call it here, it doesn't get assigned. It explains our issue and why this isn't working. I don't know why it's not updating though, because I mean it's everything's the same. It's literally identical. I could probably copy paste. No, I can't. I can't do a copy paste of this. So if I copy that, can I click off over here and then paste? No, it's trying to create duplicates of our animation tree. That's not what we want. I can't copy these individual ones. Is it because I used capital S here? Oh my god, it is because I use a capital S. So, moral of the story is that even though case sensitivity doesn't matter in anywhere else in this, because in all together and everything, this is case sensitive. And these are capitalized everywhere we see them in every location that it is printed out. The case sensitive does matter when you name it in here. Dude, you're welcome. I'm still trying to learn and figure it out myself, so that is the most annoying bug I've ever found. Okay, so we now have a stop animation where you get a little particle puff right as the end of the run animation every time. So we have our puff every time they kick up with the particles, and then right when they stop, they get a little puff. That's what we want. Let's remove this logging so we're not printing out stuff. That improved our run and stop animations pretty significantly, which is what I created this ticket for. So we're gonna go ahead and close this issue. Go back. What else did we want to work on today? Menus is gonna be a big one. I kind of want to add, because we're already in here messing with the animation tree, I kind of want to use this time to go through and pick out some sound effects, because I've never messed with sound effects before, at least not in Godot. I only have about 40 minutes. I don't want to go too much past 2 p.m. because I promised the kids I'd do some things with them. So I kind of want to wrap things up in a reasonable amount of time. And I feel like we can spend some time finding the sound effects, maybe fiddle around with a little bit, and then tomorrow we can focus on integrating our sound effects. That might be what we end up doing. Yeah, I think that's what we're gonna do. So I know itch has some sound effects, so we'll pull that up. I know I would also like to pick up some music, but I'm less concerned about that. We've got artlist.io has some sound effects. We got Pixabay, which has some. And then Free Sound is the other one I've spent time working with. So let's go to browse. Game dev. I think it's our assets actually. Sound effects. We are going to find the pause button for music. All right, let's listen to some sound effects. We want we want sound effects as our type. Let's stick to free because I don't want to deal with purchase stuff right now. To do formats, we don't care about any of that. I don't think we want to set any of these filters. I wonder what this sounds like. They're not going to have a way for us to listen to this, are they? It's one downside to searching for sound effects on here. Because here, I'm concerned because I want to avoid anything that's AI generated. But they have a lot of non-AI generated stuff on here. So we want transitions. Is that what we're looking at? Because I think this is more all of these hard impacts, area impacts, outros, reverse, ambiance is background stuff, like placing your setting. I want sound effects, and none of these filters make sense for sound effects. Here we go. Body falls, kicks, walking. Is there anything associated with running? Running. Well, first off, I think I'm gonna have to. Is that too loud for you guys? That was super loud for me. But we are also trying to pick out sound effects, so I kind of want it to be a little on the upper sound. Let me like cut the volume in half. Can I search for like cat? I mean, it's not quite right. It fits into this folly though. So definitely the area we're intended to look for our running and walking and stuff. I kind of want that softer, like, because the dogs have more of the nail, clack, click, clack, but cats tend to have more of the like pad of their foot hitting. So it's a more muted, like, you know what I'm talking about? And so that's kind of what I'm going for. But they don't have anything associated with cats in here. Maybe one of the other sites will. Sound effects. Duration 0 to 30 seconds. I wanted to be super short. Guess it fit under nature. Like how it's authentic and then AI generated. Can I search for cat? I feel like this one's going to be useful. Can I play it? Play. Wow, that's loud. Sorry about that. Where's the volume on this one? Let's do something like 30%. I think I like that. We need to know the rights for these. Free use under content license. Use content for free. Use content without having to attribute author, modify, or adapt. Cannot sell or distribute content, either digital or physical form, on a standalone basis. Okay. If content contains recognizable trademarks, logos, or brands, you cannot use that content for commercial purposes. You cannot use content in any immoral or illegal way. You cannot use content in a misleading or deceptive way. You cannot use any content as part of a trademark, design, mark, trade name. Okay, so we're not using this in anything trademarked. Like we're not using this to trademark anything. We're using it for cat. We're not trying to be misleading or deceptive. It's not immoral or illegal. There is no trademarks because there's no recognizable sound, and it's audio only, like sound specific to Pixabay. Saying, you know, this is trademarked, or you know, their name or logo or whatever, the company name, stuff like that. And we are not providing it standalone because it is going to be integrated into the game. So we can use this commercially. As long as we can see this free for use under Pixabay content license. As long as we see that, we can use it. So start downloading that. Is there a way to bookmark these guys? Because if I'm going to be using their stuff, I want to come back and use it again. Like, all right, let me. Do I want them to have my information? I mean, I use Pixabay enough. What's one more person selling my information? Google's already doing that for me anyways, so. All right. So now we can like these people so we can come back, and if we use these in a more permanent fashion, I would like to be able to reimburse these people. So let's double check that this one is also free. Yep. Download. So it gets us a meow and a purr. We want to find. Actually, I kind of like this meow more. We want cat running is what we really want. I actually like that one a lot. Reminds me of one of our cats. I actually really like this purring one. All right, well, let's undo these downloads so I don't get these confused on what we decided on. I'm definitely gonna use that one if it is free. Yep. Okay. So download, and then we'll go ahead and do that. And then I really liked this one as well. So is this one also free for use? Yep. And it'll download, and then we will do that. All right. We want to find... some of these. Let's find... I really want the little pitter patter of cat running. That's the most important one for us to find, I think. I think one of my cats heard this through my headset because she's over there screaming now. I don't see. She's just going at it. All right. That's not what we want. I can't find anything on cats running, cats playing. Maybe there's some fighting. Don't want that. Come to the conclusion the trilling ones are really loud. Oh, yeah, I can't find anything in here. That's unfortunate. Let's look for cat sounds. And then if we can do Creative Commons, that solves all of our problems on that front. And we want sound effects. Maybe cat sounds would be a better filter. Don't know what we would even fit this under. I don't know what cat flap means. This is probably gonna be loud if I play it as is. We've learned that. I don't see a way to reduce sound on this one. Here, let me. I can mute the site, but I can't adjust the volume through there. Can I adjust it through here? Nope. Well, I guess we can do it this way. It's not what I want. This one. So I should be able to modify each notifications, like, where is, I thought you could, I'm used to Windows on that one. I don't know a way to do that on here. This might be something I need to, these might be something I need to look at off stream on that one. We did find some good ones though. Sucks they don't have anything on here that we can just listen to with a play button like the other ones. Yeah, those are more focused on audio, and Itch is a more generalist approach for assets. We are going to need the sound of boots, though. So we got running. If we remove cat from the filter, let's remove, actually, let's set the filter term to boots. Do the folly as, I thought running was one of these. There's walking. There's running. Okay. Here we go. Let's try this one. I'm okay with that for the scientists that are chasing the cats. I think I'm okay with that. What's there? This is looking an awful lot like they don't have free versions of these that you can use. Usually when there's only a pricing thing and they say nothing in here about availability. So maybe we close that tab out. Stick to Pixabay. Boots. Looks like our ad's about to start on Twitch. So I am going to take a moment while the ad runs and I'll be right back. All right, we are back. Just pause the music. And you guys probably want to see the full screen on this. I realized I had it on the other one still. Oh, not that one. This one? Yeah, this one. All right. Let's get back to it. I don't like that one. We don't want leaves. We want boots on stone. Or tile or something. Even a wood floor would be not ideal, but okay, you know? What if we just do that? What if we just do under sound effects, footsteps? We do sound effects and we do short duration and we do technically this would be people, I guess. And then we authentic only. Technically we want running. I guess what we could do is we could take that one loud spiking one in here. That one. We take that one loud spiked footstep, isolate that, and then maybe grab one or two of the lower ones and then just have a player that will randomly choose one of those and we trigger it to play one every time the animation makes a stepping action. Kind of like we did with the particles, where we isolated a particle and then we bound it in the animation model to trigger it each time they would be kicking in their run. I was kind of hoping for something that we could just loop. To be honest. But just because it would be easier. Can I remove this filter? That actually kind of works. Maybe speed it up a little bit and we could loop it. Free for use. All right, so we're gonna grab this one and then we will tag it. So we got footsteps for the enemies. We got a purring sound. We got a meowing sound, which we can use for our selection stuff. We've got. We really need the cat footsteps, the player footsteps. Can I put cat footsteps in there? What I need to do, I guess, is set up my mic one of these times and just get the cats riled up so they have the zoomies and capture one of them just zooming back and forth. That'd be perfect. It's not what we're looking for, unfortunately. It's one of the downsides about not having the time or setup to be able to do these things on my own is sometimes you're just stuck hunting and hunting and hunting, even though you know exactly what it is you need. And sometimes, even with all the hunting, you can't find it. Step skeleton. I wonder if I can do step cat. Not at all what we're looking for, but it sounds pretty sweet. Maybe we can do step paw. Again, it's got that click clack to it from a dog. We just, in a perfect world, and we might just have to go with this to be honest, but in a perfect world, we can find the padding thud of a cat in one of these. Like of the little paw pads, because they don't tend to click clack with their nails. It's real weird to me that it's got like everything else in here but that. All the other sounds a cat would normally make, but none of the... Okay. It's a little loud. But if we were to take a segment of this, like maybe the first third or quarter, maybe in the first half, and trim it down a little bit, speed it up to match our, or slow it down to match our running cadence, soften it, not just in the sense of like not as loud, but soften it as in like you did a little bit, like cap the bounding range it can go on. I don't know if I have the tools for this. I might have to search around for those. But if we can set like thresholds on how loud it can be, how far it can deviate from silence, we can mute the sound quite a bit. And that might actually be a good one for us. Because it's already kind of muted with the fact that it's on carpet. it gets a little bit too much of that thud, I think. So if we remove some of the bass from it and then reduce the volume, that might work for us. I wonder if we can find maybe carpet. This might be the one. That, I think, is probably the best one we're going to have. Let's free for use. Okay, so we're going to download that. We're going to like that. That gives us sound for the cat running. So we now have the walking and running sounds for our players and enemies. We have the two sounds we're probably going to use for selection. Purring and meowing. We can reuse some of those. What meow sound did we land on? So we got purring, concrete footsteps, carpet footsteps, chirping. Okay, so what's this? That's a more happy because it's got the chirping to it. We should pick up a cat distress. Let's make sure the volume's down on this one. Where's our volume rocker? We were literally just had it as exciting. There it goes. Yep, okay. That's at like 25% volume. At one point in time, I'm pretty sure we came across one of these that was a growl. Right now, technically, we have a crying animation. Let's use this one. All right, download, like. All right, so now we got something for selection. We got something for capture. We've got the sounds for movements and stuff. Let's switch over to, let's say here. We want, it would still be sound effects. It would still be 0 to 30 seconds. What I want is UI, like button clicks. I don't know what that would fit under. I kind of like, I don't like that this is a 14-second duration for that. Well, I like that. I wonder if it'll sell us other related. No. Can I do? Here we go. Turn the music up for a little bit for the sound up. They have such a weird collection like this. Perfect. But I don't have any other sounding animations that would be associated with this, like the sound transition between buttons when you're tab selecting, for example, which would be like hover effects and things like that. This would just be select, which is unfortunate because I really like that select sound. Wow, that's a lot. It's got a lot too. Sound effects. Sound effects. 77,000. Wow. I guess this is a community thing, but wow. There's one downside about sites like this as opposed to itch is that you're looking at individual sound effects. Whereas if we go to itch and we look at these, and let's scroll up here because I saw some earlier, like UX. It's got different types, what they are, but it's going to have the full sound effect set. So if we play this, So it's got like short note up, short note down, which you can use for scrolling or ticking sliders. And then it's got a third one. So all of them have like that cadence of like you can give the feel of moving through menus or selecting an item within a menu. Whereas when we're looking at things on Pixabay, we need to find each of those individually and then wire them together. Even that one is light. Because it was really just like tick up, tick down, select effectively. I do like this. I don't think it fits for our game, but this is something that we can, oh, that's an image. I don't know what we should be using for this. I'm leaning towards something that would fit under arcade or retro. Oh. This makes me feel too much like Sims game style, things like that, and that's not quite what I want. I actually really like this. Okay, well, let's just click a few buttons real quick so that we have those available for us. I don't know how much of this was mixed into like an actual beats to meant to be served as a background music song, or if it was just a series of things that mixed together in a way that just, you know, had the right repeat and cadence to it, or what. But I like how that sounded. It's kind of a vibe that I have in my head for what we're going for on that one. How do I sample these? I don't know if I can. I don't think I can, actually. Unfortunate. I don't have to go through and download all of these just to get a sample to see if I want to use it or not. I think the only main thing we're missing here. You don't have anything for transitions between them. It's too loud and in your, like, disruptive, I think is the word I'm looking for. All right. I can already hear a few sounds that will probably be useful for us down the road, which is one good thing. Like the door. Secondly, I liked some of the button sounds right in the beginning. So I'm probably going to use some of those pop and tick sound noises for our navigation. So I think I'm just going to grab this. There's another one where I want to flag it. And if we end up doing anything with this and it eventually possibly makes money, I want to attribute back to all of these. So add to collection. And yeah, I already, all of our asset packs I already bought. So those are already stored in my library. I don't need to worry about those. But so that gives us sounds for menu, sounds for movement, sounds for capture, sounds for select. We're missing the sounds for like background music, I guess. Background music is a weird one for us because we transition between states, and I kind of want our states, like the how we transition to music, to be kind of unique on that front. I don't think we're gonna have time for it. I think we're just gonna get sound effects in, and then our focus tomorrow outside of that is gonna be on levels. And then if we get additional time and we can focus on things come Friday, maybe we can add a little bit more polish. And the big thing for that would be background music kinds of things, I think. But our main focus tomorrow, we can get sound effects in for a little bit of polish, but the majority of the day tomorrow needs to be focused on level design because it's the last full day that I can guarantee we will have. So now that we've got music sorted on selections, we can utilize that, and we should be able to trigger that through our animation trees. I just need to add players for it, and kind of like we did for the animation player, set up a audio player, and we should be able to select tracks and trigger them through either the animation player, adding them in here, or through the animation tree, which would be ideal. I think it's going to come individually, like the footsteps. I think we might just need to go to our run animation, and when the cat pads onto the floor, we play the sound for that animation, and that's how we handle that. But then when we have repeating animations that are for the full duration and stuff like that, we might need it to be through the animation tree. Either way, I want it to be completely tied to triggers within our animation tree, which either is triggering inside of the animation player on its loop or directly call once in the animation tree or something like that. I don't want to have to do a whole bunch of scripting to do that because that makes it a lot more fragile. And right now we've got almost no scripting for this. We just are essentially setting our blend positions as they change when our velocity is changing. And then we call, run and idle. And I think we have capture. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's idle, run, capture. And then we also have a hide animation, hover animation. That's pretty much it. Like we call the start points into these trees, and then when there's certain like event trigger actions. So it's either idle or hide is an entry point. So one of those gets called in the script based on what action you're taking, or like how you load it into the scene essentially. And then mouse over triggers hover, and then click will trigger blur. And then here, using the WASD keys will trigger run, and then and then contact with an enemy will trigger capture. And then I guess stop utilization of these. We'll try and go back to idle, but it follows the path through stop. But that's about it. So I would like it all to be like me not have to update the scripts at all, so the triggers are consistent with both. I do still need to figure out why this is complaining. I've completely removed this from the track. I don't know. They're warnings, they're not errors, but all right. Well, we didn't make quick progress, but we did get a lot of things ticked off today. I closed out an entire issue, and we made some advancements towards one of our other issues. So we did get a little bit of work done today. Again, we'll be on tomorrow. I'm going to be trying getting on 10 a.m. Central, and we'll be going until at least 2 p.m. Central Time. So 10 to 2 is kind of the goal. Kids are home from school again tomorrow, so I don't want to spend too much time on stream. We might... No, we're probably not going to stream. I might stream Friday. We'll have to see. I know my partner and the kids are heading out of town for the weekend to go do different things, so it is possible that I will have the time and availability to stream on Friday, but I don't make any promises right now. So we'll see on that front. I'll have to keep you guys informed through the Discord. So if you guys aren't on the Discord and you want those kinds of heads up ahead of time, and then you should check out the About section below where I have my Discord channel linked, and you guys can join that. It should just be free for anyone that clicks the invite. You should be able to just immediately join it. Well, that's pretty much all we've got for today. So join me again tomorrow, and we will pick things back up there. And for those over on Twitch, let me check. Yeah, for those over on Twitch, we are going to trigger a raid if I can find anyone online. It looks like Hypnotic Games is online, so we are going to go ahead and raid them. All right, so we're gonna kick this off. Again, thanks for joining me. We will be back tomorrow, 10 a.m. Central Time, and we will be streaming for at least 4 hours like we do every Tuesday, Wednesday. So thanks for joining me, and I will see you guys then.